And welcome to Ask Nine. Becky is a little under the weather.
She is.
She's lost her voice.
We've gone to discount Becky.
No, not at all.
Different Rebekah.
Rebekah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I got to tell you, because you work weekends, of course, you work very early in the morning, and I was traveling to the Quad Cities. I went on Thursday, came back on Friday, making sure I got back on Friday early enough.
Yes.
Because I knew the storm was coming. You were working those mornings. So what was Saturday morning like before this big storm kind of shut down Interstate 80?
No, yeah. So, I mean, I come to work way early in the morning.
Very early,
So I am on the roads at midnight. And at that time, it's like, okay, we knew that snow was coming on Saturday, right? But when I was on the roads, that early in the morning wasn't too bad. But when I was back on the road at 11 a.m., things were covered in snow. And it was getting kind of nasty outside. So I really got to experience it myself in my car around 11:30.
And during that period of time, this is a screen capture from during that time. This is a look at the road conditions that Saturday morning. This was sent out by Iowa State Police. Now, sometimes it's really hard to read these maps. You can see Davenport Way on your right side, and you see Des Moines way on the left, and Cedar Rapids is part of that blue area. Now, those blue areas where each of the counties were at that moment, they were banning tow trucks from basically hitting the road.
Yes.
Now, you could see right there on I-80, there's Iowa City, and then you go to the west of that, and in that dark purple area, no one should be driving. That was the area that was considered the most dangerous. But oddly enough, Iowa City and to the east, where it's blue there, the blue highway, that is Interstate 80, where a lot of this trouble occurred. Tell me a little bit more about what was going on I-80 in that area.
You know, it really was just a result of the way the snow fell. You know, I was talking with meteorologist Joe Winters a little bit. Sometimes the wind in that area tends to blow the snow across the road in certain ways. And that can really just cause those snow drifts, you know, that you were mentioning, that blue area near Iowa City, blue on the Iowa 511 map, partially covered in snow. But when people are driving over areas that are partially covered in snow, you know, it packs in, it gets kind of nasty. You can experience it in your own driveway when you're pulling out, you know, the tire tracks. Everything else might melt, but your tire tracks stay there because you're really packing it in. So imagine that on an interstate where a lot of people are traveling.
And Interstate 80 is so heavily traveled when it comes to particularly truck traffic.
Yes.
Even on a Saturday, there's a lot of semis. This is the major artery east-west across America, and it cuts right through Iowa. So when you have a storm, and I consider truck drivers professional drivers, they are out there, and I hate to say it, but they're competing for space with cars.
No, definitely. And, you know, we had a lot of pictures on our social media pages of those semi-trucks after the interstate was shut down, because semi-trucks end up, you know, when they go through these snowy conditions, they kick up a lot of snow. And with snow also falling, and I talked to some first responders about this, and we'll get into that, but I talked to some first responders, semi-trucks really, with those whiteout, they can cause those whiteout conditions, and that's what kind of happened on I-80 this weekend.
Well, and let's see the results of what actually occurred, because it was a backup, and it was collision after collision. I feel really scared for that person that was in that white minivan, but this is what it looked like on I-80.
Seeing these images and knowing that no one was killed, that is miraculous.
Absolutely.
Because this was backed up. I mean, first responders got the first call at 9:30 in the morning. They didn't open the roads again until 9 p.m. That's how backed up it was. They closed down the interstate, which doesn't happen all the time. You know, it's a really big decision to close down, like you said, a major artery through the country. But it was just nasty conditions out there on Saturday.
Well, and let me ask you about that, because one of the big questions is why wasn't the highway shut down sooner? Because we've seen these big gates that are at on and off ramps, and a lot of the north-south highways, I-35 I think of, when winter weather is so bad, they'll shut down the interstate right away.
Yeah, and I-80 does have some of those gates that can close off the entrance ramps. And what the Iowa DOT told me today when I spoke with them, they were looking at the forecast and it didn't seem like this was going to be that much of a problem. They expected kind of a typical Iowa storm. They could have never anticipated just the travel conditions with all of those whiteout conditions causing really the main problems.
Well, and let's be honest, also, it just backed everything up.
Yes, and with those whiteout conditions, that's the second part of it, because it was this huge chain reaction. With whiteout conditions, if you're coming up over a hill or around a turn and you don't see that big line of traffic for some reason, because the blowing snow or any snow coming off of the back of a car or a truck, and you try to slam on your brakes, in those conditions, you're not going to stop.
Well, and here's the other thing is that, because I was sitting there thinking, if I was stuck in that and I came up against a pickup truck and I slammed on my brakes and stopped, I would be constantly looking in my rearview mirror for what's coming up next.
Yes.
And part of what I would think is, do I stay in the car because that's the safest place?
Yes.
Or do I get out and get out of there just in case one of these big semis comes rolling up behind me? I think that's a really tough decision. I guess I would stay in the car and pray for the best.
Yeah, and we were talking about that a little bit earlier throughout the day, what decision do you make? But staying in the vehicle and hoping that, somebody sees you. If you have your flashers on, one of the best things you can do in a situation like this, that's really what you want to do.
Still, it's tough. If you're like the car that's 3 or 4 cars in, maybe you're okay, but if you're that last car. Now, we're taking a look at some of the video that was shot on Monday, actually. That's what we saw a little earlier. And the fact that there's a lot of vehicles that are finally being removed. But that's going to take some time to clear I-80 of all of those vehicles and trucks that are in the median and along the sides of the road.
Yeah, the Iowa DOT anticipates 2 to 3 more days for all of the vehicles to be picked up. And by all of them, I mean the majority of them that have been contacting towing companies. The Iowa DOT actually told me today some of them might end up being abandoned. They've had situations like that. They'll go through the process. The ones that have properly contacted towing companies, the towing companies contact the DOT, then they go through this whole process to shut down certain lanes over, in the evening hours, so the vehicles can get pulled out of there.
Right.
But there's always the possibility that, if somebody's car is so badly damaged and they don't call a towing company, that could end up abandoned there.
Yeah.
And then the DOT goes through the whole process with state police and to take care of it.
Well, and I just remember the last big storm and how it impacted I-80, because so many of the cars went into the median throughout the area that it hit those wires that are meant to safely keep you on your side of the median.
Yeah.
And I saw mile after mile where all you had to do is hit one, and for several hundred feet, it was less safe, and they had to repair that.
Yeah.
Is that the case right now? Is that there's going to be a lot of repairs that are going to be needed along the interstate?
We didn't talk too much about the repairs to the things like the cables. It really is going to be that.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'm pretty sure I was the one that did that story last year or the year before when everything was really slick. We didn't talk too much about that, but really just how long it's going to take for them to pull these vehicles out, why the interstate wasn't shut down preemptively, and it's just, you see this video, and where's the road?
Yeah, right.
That's what it looks like. And again, you mentioned the white minivan. I can't imagine what was going through that person's head when all of this was happening.
And I think I took you off of topic, but once again, the experts that you talk to, the police that you talk to, they still recommend, no matter what, the safest place is to be in your vehicle.
We didn't talk too heavily about that, but you don't want to be on the side of the road when somebody, if a truck does come up, having a barrier between you and a vehicle that might be skidding out is probably the safest thing you can do.
It was also interesting, your reporting yesterday where you were talking to a tow truck operators?
Firefighters.
Firefighters, I'm sorry,
Yes.
thank you. And they were saying, because they were the first ones there.
Yes, the West Branch Fire Department was the first fire department on scene Saturday morning.
And I thought it was interesting because they said that, I mean, people were being transported to the nearest hotels or motels or to the nearest truck stop or wayside or whatever. I mean, they were, because like you said, the interstate was closed for 12 hours. They were trying their best to get people at least off the highway and out of that area.
They were, and the West Branch Fire Department said they even opened up a shelter there in town just in case they needed to take people there. I think they said they brought 2 people there, so it wasn't terribly needed, which is good.
Yeah.
They didn't see too much of that need, at least at that specific shelter. But they were the ones that were on scene first. They got that call at 9:30, and it was really interesting the way they were able to describe how everything unfolded. You know, they got the call for the first crash in the westbound lane, and as they were working on that first crash, they look over into the eastbound lane, and another crash. I think he said 20 yards from where they were working.
Sure.
And it's just, that shows you just how slick those conditions are, especially to have them right side by side. Both sides of the interstate closed down, a major interstate, and then that just a chain reaction was nasty.
It was amazingly nasty, and it makes me also think about the rest of the winter. So let's talk about that. I mean, we're going to see more. Well, hopefully nothing like this.
Yeah.
But we're going to see more scenes of cars and tough driving conditions.
No, and we are, and we say it all the time, it's Iowa winter. You got to know how to handle situations like this, but always leave plenty of driving space and stopping distance between you and the vehicle ahead of you. Stay diligent on the roads. If you do know that the roads are not in great shape, you know, don't be speeding. I was talking with the West Branch Fire Department. In these situations where they were on I-80 in fire trucks with lights and sirens going, they weren't going more than 45 miles an hour because that was plenty fast.
Right.
In these nasty, nasty conditions.
Well, as we keep learning is that you just kind of, I don't want to say sneak up on it, but in some ways you absolutely sneak up.
Yeah.
Because you don't know necessarily what's way ahead of you. Hopefully your GPS device will help out as well. So, I mean, that's something people can depend on. And always, of course, check your weather forecast, you know, before you leave.
Yeah.
But was there anything else that you got from your days of reporting so far?
You know, it was really interesting. A lot of this happened just so instantaneously from whiteout conditions. The fire department was talking, people just over driving conditions that you didn't need to be going that fast.
I was surprised, though, that they really did specifically pin the blame on semi-truck drivers because oftentimes they won't. It tends to be a combination. Somebody may have cut off a semi-truck driver or something like that. I was surprised that they kind of pinned the blame there.
They did a little bit, and, you know, he had an incredible example where they were going 45 miles an hour with lights and sirens going, and a semi-truck passed them. And don't get me wrong, when a semi gets going, they're hard to get stopped. You know, we hear that a lot from drivers, from semi-truck drivers. They are heavy, and if you're going so quickly and you're in nasty conditions like that, it's not exactly easy to get a vehicle of that size stopped.
Yeah, but to pass a squad car with its lights on.
Yeah. So
I hadn't heard that one.
And it was they were saying that those semi-trucks going that fast were contributing to those whiteout conditions.
Oh,
yes,
sure, yeah.
It was snowing, don't get me wrong. It was still actively snowing at that time, but going that quickly, and you know, maybe they have snow on top of the vehicle, blowing it off, contributing to those terrible driving conditions. That kind of contributes to everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us.
No, of course.
And of course, it'll be a long winter, so we're going to have more storms to talk about.
We will.
Always keep an eye, of course. The 511 is available throughout Iowa to make sure that the roads are reported in the quality and the condition that they're in. Check that stuff out before you leave. I mean, it is available. The technology is out there.
I use it all the time.
It is available to help you out. And of course, we have updates all the time streaming. The storm team is always ready. First Alert Storm team is always ready to take care of you and give you the latest information. And if you ever have questions, we hope that you'll ask us. You can message KCRG on Facebook or email us. It's Ask 9. It is every weekday at 5:30. Becky Phelps is usually here commanding the desk and doing a far better job than I do. So hopefully she'll be back on one of the days ahead. Rebekah, always great to see you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I appreciate it.